The three set of clauses most commonly used today under H&M is the insurance policy taken by the owner of the ship and its equipments are known as, which are talking about the asset capital based insurance. So when I talk about H&M or Hull interest, moving forward, we have to understand what are the owner's insurable interest in this. Why? Because this is not something just like a GPS oriented, very easy. Good morning and welcome to the session 4 of Unit 2 in Principles and Practice of General Insurance. And in this session, we are going to speak about the Hull policy altogether. Why the Hull policy matters a lot is that this is a policy that is going to cover about the equipment and machinery of the ship. So moving forward, let's talk about the introduction to the Hull policy. The insurance policy taken by the owner of the ship and its equipments are known as Hull policy. So it's very, very clear here. The owner of the ship and its equipments are known as the Hull policy. Now, we are not just going to talk about the cargo, but we are going to talk about the equipments of the ship. It's basically a property insurance which covers the ship itself, the machinery and the equipment factors. Furthermore, this insurance covers some liabilities, normally collision liability with another ship and sometimes liability for colliding with other objects other than a ship also. So now we have to look into the ship as a property. That's where the Hull policy comes into picture. Now, the Hull policy's ideology is that, like any other moving objects, the ship is also a moving object that goes across the sea carrying the tonnage. At some point of time, there might be a failure due to some machinery breakdown. Some equipment might have not been working well. Some meter or some steering might not come into the picture or into the policy. Automatically, what happens is that this goes on to such a situation that the complete ship breaks down. So that is why we come on to this factor of understanding a Hull policy which tries to cover the ship and its machinery. So this is primarily like any other car insurance or a motor insurance where you are trying to cover the ship and its equipment parts. Now, the Hull policy will also cover certain liabilities, especially in terms of the normal collision that happens or in terms when the ship is going to collide against any other object other than the ship itself. So these are certain things which are being covered under the Hull policy. Moving forward, we have to understand what are the owner's insurable interest in this. The capital asset interest, the potential legal liabilities, the income interest. Let us go back to the business in order to understand this insurance concept. For any person who is doing business, always wants to understand what is the potential outcome of doing a business. Now, for example, if I get into a transportation business of, say, I'm having a fleet of lorries or truck and I'm sending goods from point A to point B, my ideology of doing that business is to earn a potential income with the least amount of risk that is involved. But of course, the logistics business will have its own course of risk that is inherent to the nature of the business. In a similar way, the most important factor that comes in shipping is that the asset factor, the capital asset factor. Now, the capital that is being involved, invested into the business is always a primary concern to the owner. And shipping is not a business that is worth few thousands or few lakhs. It is worth several hundred crores of money that goes inside this huge business. And if you look into shipping as a business that is being practiced worldwide, the amount of money, time, risk, energy that is involved in this is quite huge. So anybody who gets into this business would try to save his capital, would try to save his asset and moment for some time. Why? Because these factors are mandatory in terms of the business aspect. So if I'm going to look for an insurance, My primary ideology here is that, am I able to save my capital asset first? That is my interest, so that I am able to look forward in such a manner that the business is able to give me some kind of potential validation altogether. Second thing, the potential legal liabilities. Now, for example, when you are involved into any business, the first challenge that comes across to you is a legal hurdle that is involved. Why? Because if you all understand the business environment itself, in the external environment, the legal environment plays a very, very important factor. What are all the legal hurdles or challenges that can be faced by a business at any given point of time? So it becomes very important for all of us to understand the legal hurdles. Now, the legal hurdles is that where you need to understand, suppose I'm running a shipping business, what can be the clauses under which I can be trapped? What can be the clauses under which I can claim money? What can be the clauses which I need to avoid? And what are the clauses that I mandatorily need to know? This is where the potential legal formalities comes into picture. So if you're not able to understand the legal formalities, if you're not well versed with the legal formalities, you will not be able to run the business properly. So that is why for any owner who is involved in the shipping business, the first ideology here is to understand the potential legal liabilities that are involved. Next, the income interests. After doing a business which is worth several hundred crores or several thousand crores, definitely the most interesting part is how much am I going to earn out of the money that is invested? Is it that I'm just going to earn some 5 or 10 rupees, or is it that I'm going to earn really few thousand crores? So when you're talking about the income that is going to come out of this business, I would be definitely interested. Why? Because this is the biggest potentiality that I'm talking about when I'm taking a insurance cover. So what I will look here is that if the income that is going to be generated out of this business is high, that means the risk will also be high. But at the same time, I would like to go for an insurance which covers my income, which covers my asset and the legal formalities, because all these three things will be able to understand, will comprise my entire horizon of the business. Now, moving forward, the Hull policy, what does it try to talk about? The first one is on the asset capital itself. Which are the kind of companies that do it? H&M, Hull Interest, Builders Risk, Mortgage Interest, Insurance. These are certain things which are talking about the asset capital based insurance. So when I talk about H&M or Hull Interest, or when we talk about Builders Risk, Mortgage and thing, these are factors which will look into the asset, the ship itself, the equipment, the machinery, the physical factors that are involved in the business, because these are the asset capital for the business to run successfully. Followed by the income loss. Suppose there is an income loss that happens because loss of hire or freight interest. These are all factors which will try to cover and which will try to understand the factors that are involved in terms of my business priority, in terms of my business identity altogether. The third party liability. Now, this is also very, very important. Why? Because when I speak about the third party liability, I need to know about P&I and the H&M, which are the factors which will cover because of any third party activity happening or because of any unincidental factors that is coming into the contract, into the liability factors. Even that has to be covered. So altogether, the Hull policy is a comprehensive policy that will try to talk about the various factors under which the insurance will try to cover, will try to take you forward. Moving forward, the H&M cover. What is this H&M cover all about? The three set of clauses most commonly used today under H&M is the Norwegian Marine Insurance Plan 1996. The version is 2003 version, which we are using as of right now. Followed by the English Institute Time Clauses, Hulls, which has been using across. The American Institute of Hull Clauses, which was formed on June 2nd, 1977. Now, each one of these clauses have their own factors, have their own ideology altogether in terms of understanding how it works. But then when you look into the Norwegian or the English Institute or the American Institute, they're all the detailed process which goes forward and lists down all the activities that are involved in terms of making you feel about protecting the machinery, protecting the ship, protecting the capital assets altogether. But each one of them have their own aspects in terms of making you understand what are the factors that are involved and how these factors are going to be covered under the insurance policy altogether. Now, the English clauses, let's first look into this. The English clauses have also been issued in newer versions which are not widely used, but the newest version that has been known is on the 11th March, the thing which we have seen altogether. It appears to one because it is a substitute to the ITCH altogether. Now, the English clauses are one which are trying to replace a lot of in the hull cover policy because it tries to cover predominantly many aspects of the shipping, starting from the breakage, wreckage, or it's going to talk about the colliding factors, the equipment, machinery, garage, and so many factors. So the English clause is supposed to be a wider and a comprehensive policy that goes forward in terms of covering the shipping and the other activities. Moving forward, let's talk about navigation. Now, navigation is a very, very important aspect when it comes to ship. So you need to know where exactly you are heading, in what direction you are heading, and what kind of seas are you going to go forward in terms of understanding the entire business. So the navigation makes it clear that the vessel is covered at all the times, including while sailing or navigating with or without pilots, undertaking trial trips and rendering assistance to other vessels in crafts in distress. Now let's try to understand the various factors that are involved. Navigation in shipping is something different from that of a train or a flight or of a car. Why? Because this is not something just like a GPS oriented, very easy. First of all, the ship is going to carry a long distance freight, and that too it is going to be in different oceans altogether. So whether you are going to drive the ship with the help of a pilot or it is going to go on an autopilot, that is with the captain or without the captain, there is a lot of amount of steering and control that requires in terms of driving the ship properly from one angle to the other angle, from one edge to the other edge altogether. Now, the most important thing here is that many a time ships might undergo an on-trial basis to find out whether they are able to clear the route, whether they are able to move forward with the given factor. The second thing is that they will also try to see that in case of distress in the middle of the sea for other ships, they will try to guide and they will try to help them out in terms of the business. So it becomes all the more important for all of us to understand that assistance has to be rendered at each and every level for the shipping factor. It has to be given, and that's a very, very important factor altogether for that, so that if any time in any course of navigation, it becomes very, very important for the ship to be covered completely and move forward. Followed by the note that it is warranted, it shall not be towed to a safe place, and customarily towage is okay. So it has to be noted that in many cases, if it has to be warranted, it cannot be in the case when it is just towing for a safety purpose. But then sometimes when it has to be towed towards safety standpoint of view, it is accepted, it is considered to be okay. So that is where the customary towage comes into picture. Followed by the breach of warranty. What does the breach of warranty means to us? This clause provides for the breach of certain specified warranties held covered. Subject notice has to be given to the underwriters immediately. receipt of advices or any amended or additional plan being looked forward, which means to say very, very clearly that in case if the shipping company has gone forward in terms of breaching the values, breaching the rules and regulations of the factor, that has to be notified immediately to the underwriters and being told that the facts that are being published here are not true to the knowledge. So accordingly, the insurance company will take an action against the shipping company, followed by the termination of insurance. The cover might be terminated in subject of events of clause 4, which means to say that if the information that is being found by the company that is the insurance company is not true and there has been some cheating or fraud that has undergone in terms of doing the business, there would be a termination of the insurance, followed by the change of class ownership represents major change which will lead to the termination of insurance. Now, who is going to own the ship? What is going to be the terms and conditions? Under what kind of factors the ship is going to change hands? All this factor will immediately lead to the termination of insurance and you need to renew it or you need to start it afresh. With this, I come to the end of this session. I hope and believe that the session was highly informative, useful, and of a great resource to you. In the upcoming sessions, we are going to talk about the motor insurance, which is a very, very interesting part of the general insurance factor. And this is also going to cover about our day-to-day activities, as in how we get covered when we are buying a car and what are the precautions that we need to take care. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me on this wonderful session.